wanted to just sort of talk about that there's a connection between workers' compensation and the personal injury. The fact is that if you get hurt at work, but there is a third party case or a personal injury lawsuit that comes from that, then you actually have two cases. The first is going to be the workers' compensation case, where the insurance company is going to provide medical treatment. They're going to pay for you to be out of work. And then you're also going to be entitled to an award. So the idea is that those benefits are going to get provided immediately. And then what's going to happen is once that part of the case is over, typically the third party case will then come into play. So what happens in essence is workers' compensation pays for benefits immediately, or are supposed to, I should say. But the idea is that those benefits, we don't have to prove that somebody was at fault. So workers' comp is no fault. And if somebody gets hurt and they are working, then they're entitled to those benefits automatically. The idea is, though, that with a personal injury lawsuit, you have to demonstrate that somebody was negligent and that negligence is what caused you to be injured. So there are additional things that you need to prove if there's the third party lawsuit, which is usually why those things take longer. Those cases take longer to process. So typically what will happen is that the workers' compensation case will go first. The benefits will be paid, and then the workers' comp insurance company asserts what's called the workers' comp lien. So that means that any money that they've paid, they get to put as part of their lien, and then 2/3 of that, and I'll give you an example in a second, but 2/3 of that then has to get paid back from the third party case. The idea being is that you can't double recover from two separate places for the same accident. Okay. So, as an example, if workers' comp in total paid a total of $30,000 amongst all the benefits, then their lien is going to be 20,000 or 2/3 of that. So, and that has to get paid back out of the third party case. So the question happens is, well, what happens if, let's say, the third party case settles really quickly? What if that settles first? Well, then what happens in workers' compensation is that the benefits that would be paid as part of an award, those benefits are going to be reduced because the third party case settled first. So they just work together. Typically, if the negligence is caused by something that is done by your employer, you cannot pursue that third party case. In other words, if your job is to drive from A to B, and while you're driving from A to B, you get hit from behind, you have a workers' compensation case because you were driving from A to B. But more importantly, you have the third party case because there was some other entity, some other reason, somebody else's negligence that caused you to be injured. If, however, that your job is to work in a warehouse and a co-employee is being negligent in driving a forklift, but you get hit, because that is a co-employee, they are an agent of the employer, which means that we can't sue the employer on a third party case. We can only pursue the workers' compensation case. The only time that you can do that is if you can demonstrate that the employer intentionally meant to harm you, the injured worker, okay, which is a huge standard, a huge hurdle to try and get over. The case that talks about this is a situation where there was an individual who was working at a factory and they had the safety guards off the machine. They learned that OSHA was coming in to do an investigation, put the safety guards back on. As soon as OSHA left, they took the safety guards back off, and then after that, the person was injured. There, it was determined that there was an intent by the employer to injure its workers, and as a result, the person was not only eligible to pursue the workers' compensation case, but was also eligible to pursue the third party case. So the important thing to know between the two is that if it's a case that the workers' comp insurance company is picking up, that is, that they're going to say it's compensable, then workers' compensation are going to provide the benefits right away or as best as possible. All right. that means that the third party case, all the medical treatment, all of the things that you receive, those records are helpful for purposes of that case. So the idea is to make sure that your attorney who's helping you with the workers' comp is either an office like ours at Szaferman Lakind that can handle both the workers' comp and the personal injury, or that your workers' comp attorney understands that there is a third party case and is communicating with your personal injury attorney. Okay, because the two definitely connect, and it's easier because that way the whoever's handling your workers' compensation case can communicate directly with the workers' comp adjusters to get whatever information might be needed in the third party case. So I did want to reach out and talk about that because there is definitely a connection between those two.